You think you know the Bible story, but not like this. In the early 1500s, on the western edge of Africa, a powerful kingdom did something no one expected. They took the holy book, the Nkanda Ukisi, and made it their own. They gave God a new name, Nzambi Mpungu, and declared, "We will not bow to any empire." Then they prepared for war. This is the Kingdom of Congo, where faith became a weapon, and theology, a declaration of independence. This is their untold story. In 1491, when Portuguese caravels first anchored on the Congo's mouth, they met King Nzinga Nkuwu, whom they baptized as João Wurst. He welcomed their priests, their cloth, their muskets, but he was a cautious host. His son, Mvemba Nzinga, baptized as Afonso Thirst, saw not only salvation, but an opportunity. By 1512, Afonso had built stone churches in Mbanza, Congo, installed a royal chapel, and sent his nobles to Lisbon to study canon law and Latin. But Afonso did more than import European dogma. He invented a theology. Nzambi Mpungu replaced Deus. Holy Spirit was now Kwitikila Kizimbu, the divine breath of life. Sin became Mokuba, the weight on the soul. In candlelit scriptoria, Congolese scribes labored over interlinear Bibles, Latin text on one line, Kikongo on the next, creating the first truly African Bible translation in history. Afonso declared Christianity the state religion, but he made it Congolese. He funded monasteries with ivory tithes. He coerced rival chiefs to attend Mass under threat of exile. And he installed his own African bishops, the first black clergy ordained by Rome outside of Europe. "We drink the same wine, we bear the same cross," his letters proclaimed. Yet Portugal bristled. They saw tribute slips, not ministry. By 1526, Afonso wrote directly to King João III of Portugal, "Your merchants cross my borders at night to seize my people. They bind them, they sell them, they break our laws. We do not serve darkness." He demanded oversight of Portuguese factors, repatriation of kidnapped nobles, and punishment for rogue slaves merchants. But his royal appeals were met with silence, until he threatened to break all trade ties. When letters failed, Afonso readied for battle. He forged iron-tipped pikes in royal smithies. He drilled youths in riverine archery, shooting from canoes at moving targets. He built fortified mission stations, churches, with loopholes for firearms and arrow slits. This was not a reluctant warrior. It was a king who understood that faith alone would not save his kingdom. It had to be backed by steel, strategy, and solidarity. King Afonso's relationship with Portugal was built on calculated partnership. From 1512 onward, Congo controlled lucrative trade in ivory, copper, and palm cloth, and even human captives, under tightly regulated export agreements. Initially, these captives were war prisoners, a currency, not a caste. But as Portugal demanded more slaves for São Tomé and sugar plantations, the balance shifted. Slavery became an industry, and Congo's soul was at stake. In 1526, Afonso drafted a scathing letter to King João III, accusing Portuguese merchants of kidnapping free Congolese nobles in the dead of night, selling them at coastal forts. He warned, "If your subjects continue, we will shut down all trade. We need neither sugar nor wine if freedom dies in our lands." He created the first Congolese-Portuguese Slave Commission, staffed equally with African and Portuguese merchants, to investigate each captive, free or war prisoner. Slavery under Congo law only. Despite pressure and intrigue, Congo often won these cases. Portuguese traders grumbled. They had expected servility, but Afonso acted from court, letter, and cathedral alike, defending his people with both ink and faith. Afonso's Christian revolution ran deeper than Latin sermons. He funded schools across Congo provinces, planted royal churches, and funded catechists who preached in Kikongo. Still, Portuguese clergy increasingly ignored Congo law. They held unauthorized slave markets and spread rumors of African heresy. On Easter Sunday, 1540, Portuguese mercenaries tried to assassinate Afonso during Mass in his palace chapel. Nobles fell, blood stained the altar, but the king survived. In response, Afonso imposed reforms. He prohibited foreigners who did not know Kikongo from preaching. He demanded that sermons be translated. He held weekly Mass in multicultural convergence. Portuguese cross beside tribal shrine. And when that failed, war drums sounded. Baptism turned to battle lines, priests to commanders. By 1545, frontier archers in Congo army used river ambush tactics learned from Portuguese, but now turned inward, ready to defend Nzambi Mpungu with arrows and iron. Afonso's reign would end in 1543, but the war between identity and empire continued after his death. By the mid-1600s, Congo had fractured into rival houses, often backed by Portugal. In 1665, King Antonio I led a massive army, reports estimate 70,000 100,000 Congolese soldiers, to confront Portuguese forces at Mbuila, modern Angola. They advanced with Nakala archers on the flanks, massive infantry corps in front, but the Portuguese held artillery and firearms. Initial assault saw early Congolese success. Portuguese lines faltered under arquebusiers and arrows. Then Antonio himself was shot dead. Chaos erupted. Nearby nobles and court officials fell. Over 5,000 Congo infantry, archers, tribunal members died or were captured. After Mbuila, Congo entered a century of civil war. Crown claimants battled in San Salvador, Kibangu, and Bula, backed alternately by Portuguese or Dutch. Congo split, but beneath the violence, faith movements stirred. In 1704, a young prophetess named Kimpa Vita, later known as Dona Beatriz, emerged from fevered visions claiming she was possessed by St. Anthony of Padua. She preached, "Mbanza Congo is Bethlehem." Jesus was Congolese. Saints were black. Her movement, Antonianism, blended Catholicism and Congo traditions, rejecting missionaries as corrupt and abusive. Tens of thousands joined. Animists, peasants, former catechists, they marched to San Salvador to rebuild the old capital. But King Pedro IV saw threat. In 1706, Kimpa Vita was arrested and burned for heresy. Her infant son, too. Still, her ideas survived. In 1709, defenders of the city invoked Antonian prayers as they fought Portuguese-backed forces. In the decades that followed, images of black saints, crosses spiked with Tony Malau icons, and Christian rites sung in Kikongo kept her spark alive. Hundreds of years later, movements like Kimbanguism in the Congo Republic trace their lineage to Kimpa Vita's legacy. The belief that Congo's theology was not borrowed, but authored. The Kingdom of Congo didn't simply adopt Christianity, they created it, translating their own faith, defending it with law, and fighting with blood. From king lists erased to prophetic fires, Congo charted its own course. Their weapons were arrows, their sermons political, their battlefields both pulpits and plains. Today, scholars are unearthing Afonso's letters anew. Catechists in rural churches teach Kikongo psalms, and descendants gather at Kimpa Vita shrines, asking, "Who wrote our prayers? Who held our sword?" The answer echoes in every line. It was Congolese.